Nothing.
As per usual, this one isn't our PowerPoint, so our normal information isn't up there. Ms. Baker, this is Miss Amber, the principal and the VP, we're doing this. Like she mentioned, our mental health worker, we can call our school psychologist or anything. It is a heavy, sensitive topic. If you are feeling something and you need to step outside, you need to take a moment, you need to collect yourself, totally fine. This is a safe place. We care about you and we want to make sure that everyone is doing okay, all right? If you need to talk to somebody, let us know. We'll get you taken care of, okay? With that, how do you prefer to be Nurse Brenda or?
Today, I'm just Brenda. How's that?
Excellent. Everybody, just Brenda, go ahead and take it away for you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You tell me where to stand, so
Wherever
I'm
you're
not,
comfortable, it's
okay.
fine.
I think next to my laptop here. And yes, my name is Brenda, and I'm a prevention educator for Central Valley Justice Coalition. And joining me today is Daniel. Daniel's here as well. And he's also going to be helping with preventing human trafficking here in the Valley. We do have our office here in Fresno, and we have lots of resources, classes, training, activities. We connect with other partners and outreach, but our main mission is to prevent human trafficking. So my goal today and Sergio's goal today is to share a little bit more about keeping our kids safe online. Due for the time, I'm going to focus on technology and how to keep our children safe. Does that sound like a plan? Okay. So like I said, we have been an organization here locally since 2009. And one of the ways we share the realities of human trafficking is through education, through meetings like such as today. So I just want to pause a little bit and say thank you for the invitation, and thank you for each one of you making the time to go ahead and sit in this presentation. We also partner with other organizations here locally to be able to serve our community, our partners, and also maybe some survivors that are from human trafficking. But today's topic, we are going to start with some stories. We want to share some stories that probably you deal with every single day. And then we would like to shine some reality facts of how we can address this issue about technology and human trafficking. So we know that we're living in a generation where technology is kind of part of our life. No matter where we go, what we do, what appointments we have to do, even to go to the doctor, the dentist, to the hair, usually they want you to go and make an appointment online. So more and more there is this culture, this push that we're doing everything online, right? We're shopping online, we're doing everything else online, and even some school. And guess what? Today's presentation is also streaming online. So our children that are now in this generation and the last couple of generations, I must say, are very early on getting to see what a smartphone is, maybe handed an iPad. And just like any other topics that you as a parent or as a guardian is talking with your children, you sometimes may need to have that conversation about drugs, the safety about sexuality, and also about, guess what? Safe driving, gun safety. But a lot of times we tend to kind of put the safety online off on the back burner. So my goal today is to be able to bring some of these resources to have the parent have the safe conversation in a proper, appropriate time for the safety of the children. The reality that we are seeing, and this has been going some stats in the last few years, is that 73% of teens ages 13 to 17 have watched some type of pornography. That is a big percentage, 73%. And the first time they probably encounter pornography is around less than age of 10. So we're talking about younger and younger exposure to children. So what does that mean? The average child age from 8 to 18 spends about 7.5 hours per day online. That's like a full-time job, if you ask me. And if you encounter that day after day, week after week, month after month, the influences, the desensitizing, the culture, the perspective of others is what is forming this child's behavior and mind and attitude and character. So 1 in 4 teens report having received some type of a nude text. Can I just ask, does that surprise anyone in this room? I don't think it does. Unfortunately, more and more our young people, but not just young, I think everyone is getting exposed more and more to the sexualized either media, some type of platform, and now they're requesting and being asked to send nude pictures. The reason we talk about this is because that is another way that traffickers can utilize that picture and sell it out in the market. And unfortunately, there have been children, without their wanting to do so, have been informed or pushed or coerced or manipulated or threatened to share that nude picture. So what do we want to do? We are going to raise a little bit more about how do traffickers recruit? What does a predator, a pedophile, what does a pimp perhaps? What are the 3 things they're looking for in an individual to traffic them? And these are the 3 main things if you look on the screen. The first one is, how accessible is this child? Are they left alone at times? Is there a parent, a guardian, a mentor, a coach, somebody that's always taking care of this child and monitoring them? Are they left alone playing video games or online all the time? Or is there somebody keeping an eye on them and watching them? So that's accessibility. How accessible is this child? The second thing the trafficker may be looking into is vulnerability. How vulnerable is our children population, if I may ask?
Too much.
They're vulnerable, right? You young people, teenagers, children are just vulnerable because they haven't lived long enough and have not had these life experiences. And then the third one is, I don't know if you can see those small letters, but it says perceived lack of credibility. Not how much credibility perhaps the child may have, but the lack of. For example, a lot of times we may be dealing with a child or a teenager that has been probably getting in trouble in school or at home, have lied, maybe have been stealing some things, has run away, perhaps even being in juvie. And when something has occurred to them, maybe they got exploited, taken advantage of, the trafficker may think, who's going to believe you? You've lied before, nobody's going to believe you. So their credibility is really low. And that is what the trafficker is counting on, these 3 things. So if I ask later on, what does a trafficker look for in an individual? It will be accessibility, how accessible they are, vulnerability, and the third one is perceived lack of credibility. Why would a trafficker or recruiter or someone who wants to exploit another individual want to recruit online?
Easier to hide.
I'm sorry, I heard something.
Easier to hide.
Easier to hide. They're not in front of you, right? If I'm seeing Sergio here, I can tell, what his behavior is, what does he look like. But if you're behind a screen somewhere, I can't see you. Yeah, I can't really tell who you are, or even if you are the person you say you're going to be. Very good. What else? Why would a trafficker want to recruit online?
If they're using it.
Because it's very accessible. How many children and young people, and even adults, like really, who does not have a smartphone in the palm of their hand?
Oh, that, and they can reach a greater number of people in a shorter time.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we know, and you are absolutely right. They have access to more people at one time. If a trafficker wanted to go ahead and groom and start looking into trafficking one individual, one child in person, it will do that. It'll take that one-on-one time. However, if they are behind online, they can start grooming 3, 4, 5 at the same time via text, via different platforms. So they have a great number of audience that they can go ahead and traffic, as well as doing it at the same time. Isn't that scary? They are also easy, they're not that very easy to identify, and they are going to quickly be able to pick up vulnerable people. So they are very hard, it's very hard to identify the red flags via online as well. So they try to get away with a lot of things. I don't know how many of you have had a course or a class or workshop of some type of human trafficking training, but every year it seems like we need to be evolving. Because guess what? The traffickers and the organized crime continues to evolve. So as technology has evolved, so has human trafficking and the methods and the way they recruit. So yes, they recruit more online, more and more, because it's more accessible. They can hide, and they can actually start viewing how vulnerable the person is. A lot of times we know that in different platforms, children and really anyone post a lot of information of themselves. But when you're young as a youth, you may be sharing everything that's going on in your life, and others may exploit that for their own benefit. What is human trafficking? It's the exploitation of another human being for the benefit of someone else. And that is what they're doing here. So won't be able to share that, I think. Okay. We also look into every single child. I don't know if you believe that your child can go ahead and share everything with you. We've known and we spoke to a lot of victims of human trafficking, and I believe any type of abuse victim, and they don't always share everything to everyone.
Or they stop when no one believes.
Or they stop because nobody's believing them. Absolutely. And a lot of times parents or, coaches or mentors, family members, grandparents tend to say, my child will tell me everything if there's something wrong. But once again, we talked about how vulnerable the child may be at a very young age and can be feeling guilty, even though it's not their fault. They can be feeling shame. They can be feeling a lot of experiences that really shouldn't be feeling, and yet will not be able to reach to you. So the reality is there is a fear, that, oh no, I'm going to get in trouble. My parents, if they find out I was hanging out at this hour, at this location with this group of people that they told me numerous of times not to do, and now here I am, 1 a.m, Friday night, my parents don't even know I'm here, and I need to get out of here quickly. So that fear of getting in trouble paralyzes them. And how many times we know that if we're in fear or paralyzed, we don't think very clearly. And in a child with a lot of peer pressure and others that are coercing them or pushing them to do things they don't want to do, may fall prey into becoming a victim of human trafficking. So what we would like to ask of each parent, and you probably have already done this, is to teach your child to say, I know I made a mistake, but right now I need help. And as a parent or even a grandparent, if your child's in the middle of almost being at risk of their own health or their own life, you want them to get out and then deal with what you need to deal with later. But you want them to trust you or someone else, an adult and responsible adult, they can pick up that phone at 2 a.m. and said, I'm in the middle of the woods in such location. Can you come pick me up? Because all it takes is that one time to do what they don't want to do and get stuck in becoming that victim of that trafficker. So with that, Sergio, I'm gonna ask if you don't mind talking a little bit about this planning ahead. And then we'll make sure we'll pass some of these out.
Yeah, so, for those of you who came in, and I gave some of these out already. These are documents you can hand to any youth that you know. It's kind of for them to keep themselves safe and to educate themselves. At the top, you can help them learn their vulnerabilities. It could be as easy as walking to school alone. That is a vulnerability for a youth. Having a phone can be a vulnerability, all this social media stuff. And then second box are people I can trust. Once again, this is for the youth. They can write your name, teachers' names, neighbors, uncles, and then their phone numbers. And third box are a list of resources to contact. For example, the first one is us, Central Valley Justice Coalition, and then you have a crisis text line, National Human Trafficking, and Cyber Tip Line. And then those two large bottom boxes are sort of checklists. We don't expect all of these to be able to be filled out, but even if some or most of them are done, it can increase chances of being safe by a lot. So for example, memorizing 3 numbers that a youth can call are very helpful to keeping youth safe. Practicing saying, I know I made a mistake, but right now I need help is a big skill. Even some adults are still learning to this day. So if we teach our youth that as soon as possible, that can keep them safe for long. And for example, the bottom one are just ways to help keep youth safe on social media, because there are no classes to keep youth safe on social media. There's no, it's not embedded into the youth to keep themselves safe. So making their accounts private is probably the easiest way. Not answering calls or texts from unknown numbers, people that they don't know. And trusting your gut and leaving a conversation if something feels off. These are ways to keep you safe.
Thank you. Okay. So Sergio and I have talked a little bit in the beginning of this presentation. I'm going to just pause for right now and just, take a deep breath. And then is there any questions or things that probably wasn't clear that you need me to clarify, or any input that you would like to share? I don't know if you have a chat box in your Teams online there too. And let me know if you do have a question, go ahead and type it in, and I'll have somebody read it out for me, and we'll go from there. But yes, this is an opportunity for you to reach out if you have an instance or need resources. Sergio and I will do our best to go ahead and answer that. If not, we can always direct you to our website. Like I said, we are from Central Valley Justice Coalition. We are located here in Fresno, and we are here to serve the community and all the surrounding cities as well. So we'll continue. So far, to do a recap, what are the 3 things that a trafficker or a pedophile or predator looks in their victims to exploit them? Does anybody remember one of them? They're good. The lack of credibility, right? Are they going to believe their story when they say it or not? Good job. I need to give you some extra points there. All right, let's continue with the reality here. We have virtual relationships are easily forged. For a 6 or 7-year-old child that's playing video games, and now that they open video games to play with other strangers in the internet, they may never know who's the other player. Even though they post themselves as another 8 or 10-year-old boy. Let's say that this wonderful 6-year-old started playing a video game on Monday for the whole afternoon and was playing with his new friend. By Tuesday after school, started playing a few more hours, Wednesday again, Thursday again. By Friday, guess what? That friend of him is now his best buddy. They have developed this bond, they get their own jokes. So for that 6-year-old, this is his best buddy, not knowing who is he really playing in real life. It could be a 45-year-old pedophile that is trying to build a rapport and a relationship to at some point be able to meet with this little boy. So virtual or digital relationships are very easily forged, and even much more in the youth and the children, or any individual really. So safety features, privacy settings are important, but they are not a replacement for open dialogue between you, the parent, and the child. And that's really what we're focusing today's class is. I'm pretty sure that each one of you put in filters and make sure you have some safety and precautions. You probably talk to the child, don't talk to strangers, don't, give too much information. But as I mentioned earlier, this crime continues to evolve, and they start getting more creative. They start looking at different methods, which means for you and I, as
So the
parents,
children
we need to have this conversation often. You
don't
probably
have to
have.
get more creative in how to get around it.
They do get creative, absolutely. They are not, they're not stupid in regards to how they're going to recruit and use methods. They actually correlate and they collaborate with others to exploit other individuals. So what that means is that we, as educators, teachers, counselors, first responders, doctors, nurses, paramedics, parents, we need to come together as well to protect the child and help them, and the youth as well. So having these crucial conversation, not just once, not just twice, but on an ongoing basis. And with Sergio shared on just an example of an agreement, a conversation, a dialogue that you can have with the child very early on, so that they are aware of, this is what my parents expect of me to do, or these are some resources that I can go ahead and share. Is there another person that your children can reach out to in case you're not able to be there for them? Have that conversation, develop that other person. Maybe it could be a grandma, maybe it could be, the aunt, the older sister, someone that has, that cares for your child, and let them know if something's going on, or if you feel so fearful that you're in trouble, please reach out to this person. But wouldn't you want to have those conversations now before they fall into another probably pit or into trouble with any organized crime? I would think we do. Okay. Let me give you a little stat here, and I don't know if you can read that, but I'm going to read it, so bear with me. This is a stat from 21 years ago, back in the year 2004. It seems like yesterday for me, but I know it could be a long time for young people. We had, electronics, we definitely had phones, but not as much as we have now with AI. But in 2004, 85% of victims that met their trafficker online, eventually the trafficker met them in person. And when the researchers looked in 2018, I'm going to read this very slowly because I need you to capture this. 42% of victims that initially met their trafficker online never met their trafficker in person and were still trafficked. Let me read it one more time. 2018, and still we're in 2025, so I'm sure that percentage is even higher, right? More than probably 50% now. But 42% of victims that initially met their trafficker online never met their trafficker in person, and guess what? Even though they never met him in person, they were still trafficked. That means that in some way, some method, they were coerced, they were pushed, they were threatened, they were tricked into becoming trafficked, even though the trafficker is not in person. What do you think about that? Is that even possible? But it is. They do this through text pictures, asking them for nude pictures. And now we're living in a world that we're seeing more and more different platforms where it doesn't take a trafficker or a pedophile or another person to exploit the person, but the individual themselves exploit themselves through different platforms. And they may do it because of different needs. Perhaps they need resources, right? They're looking for money and they sell certain pictures on certain platforms to obtain that. But they're still exploiting their own body for the profit of something else. So that is why I thank you for coming today, because we know that this is more of a mindset, a perspective of influence. And these conversation of who not only how to protect themselves, but their identity of who they are, that they are valued. And that not anyone should be having pictures of themselves around the world. Letting the person, the child know that once it's out there in the internet, it's not very easy to pull those pictures back down. Although there are agencies now that are helping to what they call scrub that, but it's still not that easy to do so.
Well, that one hits dark web, near impossible.
Once it hits the dark web, is near impossible, yes. And I keep on seeing AI just continue to grow more and more. It seems like every month. We don't know what the future may hold. But if technology continues to change, I will almost guarantee you their methods, their recruiting ways are going to continue to evolve as well. So having a plan and speaking with your children, your youth, if you probably have a leader and you're coaching, you have little children, not just once, but still having that conversation. When I was a young child, we were told, don't talk to strangers, don't accept candy from anyone that you don't know, but we see them. Now the candy's coming through the laptop, the iPad, the phone, through the internet. Very well disguised. And those that are running it disguise it very well and have it very attractive for a young person to go ahead and fall into it. I don't think we're going to do that video either. Okay. A lot of times parents I would hear, or the child would tell me, my parents, think I know better or that I knew better. But what did we mention earlier? Children don't have life experiences, right? We are all still learning, even as old as we are, we continue to learn. So they may not know the big picture and may fall into some type of trouble or exploitation of trafficking. We are surrounded by a lot of influences. A child or children may be brought up with a wonderful home with parents, and they're, on top of making sure they're watching, monitoring them, talking to them, having an open dialogue and conversations with them. But yet they still go to different malls or to different stores, or they look at the social media and they're being desensitized with the movie they're watching, the music they're hearing, even though it's not from home. They may not even give a child a phone yet because they're not old enough. But guess who has a phone all around them? Their colleagues, their friends. And they still get exposed to that. So little by little, day by day, year after year, the child may be desensitized. And that is once again where nothing replaces the dialogue between you as a parent and that child, of where are their values? What are we stand firm on? Where is the boundary? What do you allow others to see or touch and do or even verbalize to you? This is not just about human trafficking, but having a healthy perspective in life and setting those boundaries young. So yes, they become desensitized. So if some other adult person tells them, just come on over. Your parents don't give you a cell phone, I'll give you a cell phone. Just come and do this with me and I'll go purchase you one. The AT&T store is right there. And guess what? The child wants that. And they're going to do what they need to do to get that phone. Or girls may like nails or something. They want to get their mani and their pedi done and their parents won't give them the money to do so. But there's someone around the corner telling them, hey, just come on over, just take some pictures. You're so beautiful. You could be a model. Let me just send them over and they'll pay you for that. And you can get your nails done. How tempting is that for a young person that wants to explore, society and want to be out there and looking good? Very tempting. So that's where grooming comes in. And then the texts come in. And I'm sorry that the video is not working, but one of the videos I have here to share is of a young little 13-year-old that has a platform such as Facebook or any other platform that can share, hey, accept me as a friend. You don't know this person, but they want to be your friend. And for a person like a 13-year-old that may not have a lot of friends and their parents are always having issues and they're fighting, she's feeling isolated, not having any siblings around, this is now her best friend. And that friend on the other line is working full time and overtime to build that trusting relationship with that child. And parents are busy doing life, providing for the family, working, taking care at home, and here are individuals that spend day and night to invest in what they see as a product, unfortunately. When they see human trafficking victims, they don't look at them as a human being. That's why they do what they do. But they look at them as a product. So therefore, they're going to invest time. They're going to invest money. They're going to invest energy. And they're going to spend every day, even just one little post. How are you doing? How was school today? Are you okay? Yeah, don't trust anybody. And building up that relationship while their parents may not be having a good time and having fights, and she needs to talk to someone who is there ready to have those conversations with her. Another person that wants to exploit. So you need another topic that you will need to share is grooming. Does the individual or the child knows what grooming means? Explain to them what that means and how not to fall into being groomed. And I know I keep on saying children, but can I just tell you this applies to grown adults, male and female, that still get unfortunately exploited through platforms as social media? Yes. And they do that through a lot of grooming. I'm also a nurse as well, and that's usually where I started this journey, is seeing a lot of women and men coming into our ERs, and their story just didn't add up with what they were presenting. But a lot of times they would want to hear, why wouldn't they leave? If this has happened to them year after year, the same abuser, why don't they just leave? And what we tend to forget is that those metal handcuffs or chains are not just physical, but they are mainly mental and psychological.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay, all day. So grooming is a way that they make them do what they probably would never thought in their life they would do. This does not happen overnight. Like I said, traffickers are investing their time, their energy, and their money in making sure that individuals end up doing what they want them to do. And they don't tend to go easily and leave them alone. So what does grooming look like? When you talk to your son or your daughter or children, you can tell them, I'm just going to use an example of the name, little Jaden. Jaden has been gaming with someone for a while. They have chatted and gotten to know each other as they play. And one day, this friend sends him sexual images that he thinks are funny and wants to talk about them with him. So then now, guess what? Jaden may be sending these pictures or these images because this is my friend. And maybe they didn't even ask one time or two times, but numerous times, day after day, week after week, and little by little has been grooming them until Jaden gives in to what the plan of the trafficker is. So boundaries. Talking to a child, of course, to say this is not an acceptable request from anyone. No adult, no minor, no colleague, no friend should be asking you pictures. And you need to tell them this is personal and this is where you draw the line. And this is a reminder that you need to come up and talk to with the child again and again. Because when they go out, what are they listening to? What movies are they viewing? What is popping up in their smartphone? Are images that are desensitizing them. If he asks them, just send me a picture in your bathing suit. And when they look at their iPad and they're looking at all these other movies, that's not a big deal. They're all half dressed anyways. I'm going to send them a picture, right? They're nodding yes. Not a big deal. But then what happens is less clothing, more activity until they get them to do what they want them to do. And by then, that does something to their psyche. And then they're embarrassed. They feel guilty. Are they going to come to you now and say, Mom, Dad, I've done this. Not once, not twice, but now he's asking for more. Is your child going to be comfortable in telling you this? Or they're so shameful that they're going to keep it to themselves. And unfortunately, that exploited trafficker knows that and will continue to take advantage of that. So conversations about boundaries help to protect physical and emotional well-being. And I would say not just of the child, but the whole family. Because what affects one member, it really does affect the whole family. And I would dare to say even the whole entire community. So the reality is that kids are vulnerable simply and by the virtue of their age. And people on the internet, guess what? They know that as well. So little education, they're insecure. Of course, they're concerned about their self-image, like probably we all were when you were young. And they perceive that lack of autonomy, and that contributes to the development of unhealthy relationships. So having that conversation with that young lady, what is a healthy conversation once you start dating, once you start going out? Same with the young man. Because what do traffickers tend to look for in an individual that they're going to take advantage of? Very good. How accessible are they? Are they left alone at home for many hours? His parents are working. Are they vulnerable? Do they have certain vulnerabilities? Yes. And then the lack of credibility. If I do something, will they believe them that they did this? And a lot of times. Good. What does he say? Does he stop taking them right away? He keeps. And how many times have you said that to your son? 1,000,000 times. Very good. Do you know how many children on Roblox have been trafficked? A lot. A lot of boys. We always think of girls, but you need to start opening your eyes and see how many boys have been trafficked at a very young age and mainly through Roblox and a lot of videos. So monitoring them, not just telling them once, but how many times, Mama? Every time. Every time, because I'm telling you, that trafficker is not stopping. They are there kind of lurking around in any type of electronic that they can get through. And I don't have to mention it, but just in the last 5 years, we seem to be giving more of tablets and iPad for, through the pandemic that they need to learn. So somehow, some way, they need to be using, right, the internet. So it is our job, and why not? It's wise to have these conversations now. So what do we do? Well, we talked about having a safe plan. Having that safe plan. If you know of other parents and you saying, hey, I've started doing this with my children, I would recommend you have a plan, have a sit down with them, not just one time, but frequently. Put it out on the table. Monitor your kids' account. Are kids very savvy on creative, incognito accounts, that things that you may not see? Yes. That is why it doesn't matter how many times you put filters, you put precautions, you monitor them, they're going to have a kind of workaround. So having that one-on-one in-person dialogue with your child is of paramount importance. Practicing your neutral faith. We didn't talk much about all these scenarios, but if you really want your child to share what they're going through, they may share some circumstances that are probably things you may not want to hear, but you want them to come to you, not to the one in the corner and the neighbor over there, not to so-and-so, but to you about very sensitive circumstances. So start working on your poker face. They're telling you all the stories in 20 minutes. You listen, and you really want to know and have that child comfortable to tell you as a parent, as a leader, as someone who loves them and cares for them, their stories. And then, of course, create a device contract. This is just to get things started, but you can sit down and tell them, this is our device contract. If you didn't follow through what you were going to say, then we need to follow this contract. If they're growing older and they're having more responsibility, then maybe you give them more privileges, but have that contract with them. Use software or monitor accounts such as Bark, B-A-R-K. I don't know if many of you use it. It's been out for several years. It's an app that will help you to let you know for any images, sexual images, bullying, words, and accounts that probably they started without you knowing. And then teach the youth to say, I know I made a mistake, but right now I need help. Let them open their mouth and say it. It's okay. You rather than reach out to you than being afraid and fear and then being kidnapped and you may never see your child. So what to get your kids a phone? Oh, wait to get your kids a phone if you haven't handed a kid your phone yet. I know we live in this world that they expect them to have phones here and there for everything, but wait as long as you can to hand them that phone. It comes with the risk. Just like when a child is ready to drive, do you hand them the keys to the car and tell them, go ahead without somebody in the driver's seat? No, you're cautious. They went through school, they have their ID, their driver's license, but you are still concerned of how they're driving. Same with any type of electronic access. So talking about electronic access, if I can have you take your phone out. And we'll like for you to add this to your contacts if you have not had it so far. And that is the National Human Trafficking Hotline for here in the United States, which is 1-888-373-7888. And you are more than welcome to call 24 hours, 365 days a year, and they operate in 200 different languages. If you are needing more information or even just resources, you can definitely call them and they'll give you and direct you resources too. If you see someone on the streets that may need some help, they can definitely. Yes. They will connect you to the nearest. Maybe you're not in Fresno, but somewhere else, they will connect you to the nearest area or organization that can help you there. And then continue to utilize any type of applications that will be of help to keep your children safe online. And like I said, the first one is Bark. And there's a few others that have been coming out with new monitoring.
out of curiosity.
Free, some of them, most of them are. And they need to be changed every so often, because like I said, it
They
evolves.
learn.
Yes, yes,
Either kids learn or the bad guys. learn.
yes. All right, any questions?